Hello, Dr. Gordon Medlock. We
Hello.
are launching here on LinkedIn Live. This is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. And we have been having a lot of fun learning more about people, learning more about the job market, what's happening, and most of all in empowering, supporting folks to achieve their potential, and their career being one of the vehicles to help us become who we can become. And we'll be kicking off officially here in a little bit. We've got some folks joining in. But, as we're getting rolling here, Dr. Medlock, is there anything that you can share with us about our graduate university and the MBA program and how that fits in with potential and career?
Great question, George Donald. I really appreciate it. That's a good one. For those of you who are not aware, a lot of people late, early to mid-career in business are looking for what can I do to actually upgrade my skill set and position myself for a higher level position, often in a managerial role. And the MBA is a natural for that. And one of the things that we do with WGU that's unusual is we focus on the relationship dimension of business. A lot of times in other organizations, there's a heavy financial orientation without much treatment, maybe one course on relationship issues and social emotional intelligence skills, that sort of thing. We believe that business is essentially about relationship, and we really put a lot of emphasis on that. So if you're looking at how to develop your relationship skills to better position yourself for more senior level positions in your company, and you're looking for a degree to help you do it, our MBA program is specifically designed for that. And I believe we have a couple of open houses coming up, George Donald, this next week. It may be on our site, and if we don't have it, we can make sure we get that link out to people to just introduce a little bit about what our graduate university is and our MBA program. And if you have any interest in that, well, we can be happy to follow up with you on that. So.
Dr. Medlock, thank you so much. It is a delight to have you here with us so often on Career Lab Wednesday. So again, as we've got more people joining in, this is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Central. Great to see some new faces joining in here. So our topic today is we're talking about potential and career. And as Dr. Medlock was sharing, we really help people do that through all of our programs, including our MBA program. But while we're here, we want to serve you however we can. So we open the floor to all questions, anything career related that you have going on. You might be fresh out of school and in some of your first interviews and wanting some support there. You might have been working at the same company for 20 years, pandemic hit, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I need to move on. And how do I interview? It's been a while. You might be at your current company and wanting to progress there. Maybe you've got a challenge with the organization or somebody in the organization, and you're wanting to learn how to use your emotional intelligence, to deepen your emotional intelligence, and to use that to work through some challenges in some relationships. So often we find that that's a super critical thing in business, in working with people, is that even if we're very skilled in something, if we don't know how to communicate, well, it's an issue. So we want to hear from you and know how we can support you today. There's a few ways that you can do that. You can come in here like we've got Rich, Danielle, KT, and T. Chase. Good to have you here. This is great. You're able to ask your questions directly to us, and we can work with you one-on-one here. Or if that doesn't work for you and you're on LinkedIn viewing in through there, type your questions into the comments section. And Jane Coletta will make sure that we are able to see those, and we'll do our best to get to your questions. So with that, is anybody on here wanting something? Can we support you with something? T. Chase, got
Yes,
you on video. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
How can we help you today?
I don't know. I was just told I should start looking at these meetings. So this is my first time.
Fantastic. Hey, where'd you hear that from?
The COO of Christ Lincoln Church.
All right. Cool. Well, great. Well, as we get rolling, any questions that you have, any thoughts you have, we'd love to hear. And Rich, good to see you. We spoke briefly yesterday, and I see you probably will have the best sound of any of us with that gorgeous microphone there.
Not sure about that. Does it come across okay?
It sounds great.
All right, good.
Well, good to have you here, Rich. Rich, is there anything in your career, in your job hunt, that you have any questions about?
It's a good question. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, there's lots of questions, it's I guess, what exactly, I'm kind of struggling with what exactly you the algorithms say that, I'm a 5%, 2%, like top tier person, for whatever it is, you go in, you have 2 or 3 interviews and all that stuff. And, this is for a job, this is for even, if you try to do consulting work or whatever. So that, all of that seems to match up. But there seems to be, you get time seems to be an enemy when it comes to, the interview process, or, it's like minds change, requirements change, and all that. Does anybody agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, Dr. Medlock, what can you say about that?
Well, yeah, a lot of times people are screening candidates. They're realizing, wait, we're not getting exactly what we want, or somebody else is saying, no, wait, this isn't what we're looking for. They might be talking to a recruiter, and then suddenly you get another set of requirements coming at you. So it's really important to be close with that committee as much as you can, and to the recruiters if you're speaking with specific recruiters. Are you in a position where you're looking for something now, or are you in a search yourself, or what's your situation at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I am. I mean, I'm gainfully employed. It's a good company and all that, but it's, frankly, it's not sure it's the right fit for me, for what I do. So that's why I'm looking for something that's more, aligned to, I've been in marketing direction for the last 10, 12 years now, and marketing consulting, longer than that. So, I'm just actively looking at things right now.
Good. And one of the things we always have people check when they're looking at making a move is, what have you found in your current situation in terms of opportunities, or to what degree have you explored those and gotten support around it? Are there things that you can grow into or develop into in that position, or have you already explored that pretty thoroughly and are at this point feeling like there aren't a lot of opportunities for you?
In this particular organization, there's not really that place to go. And that's kind of how it's been for the last few organizations. It's, that's why I really feel it's important for me to get into the right type of organization, in the right types of industries, I just don't feel like where I'm at right now is what that is.
So one of the things we recommend is to really do some deep research on the 5 or 6 companies, 5 to 10 even, that you really think would be ideal for your situation, where you've looked at them, you've got a good sense of the culture, you've got a sense of what they're doing, and you've researched them enough that you can speak pretty much in depth with them about the challenges they're having. So you can hit the ground running when you're starting to do some networking into those meetings, into those companies. And then ideally what you want to do is make sure your profile is in good shape and ready to launch a campaign. And then try to find people that you might know who can get you an invitation to talk to someone at those companies rather than going through the standard HR process. So have you, just get your response to that sort of approach and what experiences you've had with that so far.
Well, it's interesting. So doing some networking and talking to some folks that I know that are, they're business owners or they're executives in an organization. I asked them, well, how do you go about, finding a candidate, and invariably, and then just be honest with you, in the last 6 months or so that I've been doing this, it's been, well, if we're looking for somebody, we're doing ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn or stuff like that in a search, or we're engaging a search partner, so I really haven't gotten those. I have had a few referrals to go and talk and get informational interviews, but that's been kind of what I've been told. So it's almost like I got put back into the box of that traditional HR, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, Career Builder, Indeed, so you get all those things coming in,
Yeah, well, it's always useful to, as you target the companies you're looking for, to see what are they actually advertising, and then position your resumes for that. So you want to do that, but at the same time, there's nothing a manager wants to know more than you've got a candidate that's come with a personal referral.
Personal referral.
Yeah, so the better you can network into that company to get a meeting with somebody who's in a position to hire you, or somebody who's in a position to recommend that to somebody. That's gold to them. So
Sure.
By no means do you have to limit yourself to going through the HR door if you don't have to.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, and that I remember reading article where the CEO of ZipRecruiter said that they don't look at 80% of resumes. And so there's just so much importance. And Dr. Medlock, you've talked before about how kind of the later on in your career you get, it really becomes more and more about your network.
Yeah.
So just to underline that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I used to own a sign company, and and if you look at any other franchise, any other franchise that I've ever seen outside of maybe a B2C thing, but like a B2B franchise, that's the business model. It's all referrals. I mean, you still have to do the networking or the advertising and the social media and all that stuff, which hey, that's what keeps me in business, right? And it's what I do, but it all comes down to meeting people, getting referrals, doing a good job, and making people happy and getting them to refer you to the folks that they know. So
Yeah,
it's sound advice.
yeah, you got it. So then the double bind is, if you've got a full-time job, where do I find the time to do it? Right, that's another piece of the equation. So yeah, so it's really important to prioritize that and block out time, whether it's on a weekend or early morning or something, where you're actually making a disciplined effort to further that, because it is a sales game in itself. It's a numbers game, and the more you're out there networking and connecting and talking with people, the more likely you're to create what you're looking for. So
Can I ask one other question about?
Sure, absolutely.
Just kind of the way the market is, and I've seen a lot of this talk about fractional work. So fractional CMO, fractional CFO, fractional director level stuff. Do you have any thoughts, or have you heard about this type of employment measure that people are espousing these days?
In your position, where you've got a specialized professional skill that converts into a consulting role, basically as a marketing consultant, you can be looking for a job and at the same time marketing yourself as a independent contractor or company that outsources those activities. And those fractional jobs, if I understand correctly what you're saying, it's when they want to outsource a particular function rather than having it fully someone hired full time. And they're sort of it may be a temporary gig, or it may be a temporary project, and so they're trying to work that angle. And so your skill set as a consultant, with the expertise in that, basically you could have a business model where you could be doing that for a couple of companies. And so, yeah, it's very viable.
Oop,
Bless you.
bless you. Well, fantastic. Oh, we had
I had to
Nancy
sneeze
for
there,
a
sorry.
second. Welcome back. So again, this is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. And our job is to support you in your career, to support you to become who you can become using your career, using what you're doing for a lot of your life, which is working, perhaps starting to go back into the office, perhaps not. But Nancy, welcome back. It's good to see you. Oh, I would
Thank
love
you.
to hear from you, Nancy. What's your progress been since last week?
Um, I've been thinking, how would I say, courage. I think I have been improving in courage.
How so?
Saying what it needs to be improving in the office. It's been challenging, and that took me. I was afraid, but I was able to do it.
Fantastic. So I want to give the audience just a little backstory here. So Nancy, can I talk a little bit about you?
Sure.
Okay, so Nancy, you joined in last week and you're looking at other opportunities. You're a go-getter, you know, you make stuff happen and you're looking at all the possibilities of new business ventures, etc. And then our challenge to you was, okay, great, that's all fantastic, right? And what's right in front of you in the day-to-day actions that you have right at the job where you're at that you could be doing differently? How could you, so one of the, and you can learn more about this on a variety of trainings that we do, but it's so critical in developing ourselves in any area, whether it's our career or personal relationships, is the first two phases of something called an evoluting model, which is how we continue to develop as adults, which is yearning, deep yearnings that we have to belong, to make a difference, etc. And then engaging, so that means doing with. And so Nancy, so we challenged you last week to, okay, engage right where you're at differently than you have before. And so what we're hearing is that you're saying that as you're doing that, you're starting to develop your courage. It's a challenge to say the things, and you're totally there doing this right now, which I love. So is that accurate, Nancy, the way I'm describing it?
Yes. Yes.
And fantastic. Good to see you. Good to
Good to
see
see
you
you
back.
too. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So Nancy, is there anything that you would want, you have questions about or want support from us today with?
Well, last time you mentioned that I can do the difference here at where I work. And I think it got kind of cut off when I was trying to hear what you said. You said that I can do the difference here at work and look inside of my work to get. You said something that sometimes I am kind of hiding in the back and I don't initiate.
Mm-hmm.
And I need a little bit support about that. I mean, I have courage to say, okay, we need to improve this. And I had the courage to tell my supervisors, you know, but I'm still hold myself to initiate. I'm in the back kind of helping, but I need to show that I'm contributing too.
Okay. Was that feedback that you got that you need to show you're contributing to, or is this your assessment?
Well, the last time I couldn't hear what you said about that I don't, that sometimes it was like you were describing me.
Okay, gotcha.
And I was like, oh my gosh, is this, you have a ball of the future or what? I couldn't hear the whole thing.
Understood. Okay. So you're seeing that there's still possibilities there. You're like, oh my, okay, this sometimes happens when we engage, because we wake up, we go through the day, we do things so often the same. And then when we do something a little differently, like you've done, Nancy, you've stepped into, you know, your personal leadership, your personal power more. And now you're like, oh my goodness, wait, there's so much more that I could be doing. There's a lot. And so it sounds like you're starting to see that about yourself. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons why we it's so encourage people to really apply themselves right where they're at is because, yes, you may start your business, Nancy, you may start your personal business, but with you bringing this stuff to your supervisor and having that relationship now, when you have your own business, then you're going to need those skills even more. And you want everybody around you right now to like you more and more, trust you more and more. And so that way they're like, oh, Nancy's she's doing this business. Yeah, I want to support her in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, correct. Yes. You're reading what I'm doing. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Okay, well then, and I don't know that I understood the question that you had though, Nancy. How could we support you today in taking the next step?
Like I mentioned to you, I think sometimes I'm in the back. I don't want to get noticed, but it gets to a point that, oh, I did that action, but nobody knew. You know, I want to.
Oh. Well, Dr. Medlock, what do you think?
Well, yeah, there's an element of self-promotion that's important to be able to do to let people know what you've actually accomplished and how you represent that. So you need to be letting your particularly your higher ups, your manager and the people above you, what you are doing, and let them know that you're having an impact and that you need and want their support on that, and also that you have other things that you'd like to take on, and to be engaging in those conversations, either directly with your manager, or if there's a mentor that you have in your organization that you could be talking with about your own development and growth, to find a person who is going to be your support and champion to help you develop in your organization. So there's a couple things to do, but yes, if you're used to kind of hiding in the background, you becoming more out there and you expressing yourself and letting people know what you're doing and the challenges you're taking on is very important. And actually, we have a question here, George Donald, that's coming from Tiffany in our chat that relates to this question. And I'm thinking this might be, Nancy, it might be a way to help you think about something. Tiffany, can you come on directly, or would you like me to just read your chat here?
Go ahead. Oh, hey, Tiffany.
There she is.
Hey.
I was eating lunch, but I guess I could take a little break because I was
Okay.
planning to leave a little bit early because to go to another meeting.
Okay. So tell us about your situation. I think it relates very much to what Nancy's talking about.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. Yeah, it's like showing how it can contribute, and so that's why I was. Well, working in higher ed at a university. I'm a coordinator. Been only in for like 7 months, but like I said, I think that for some reason, you know, I'm not really demonstrating all that I can do, and that we haven't had a conversation yet. I just filled out my part of the appraisal. And when I was looking at it too, I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot more I could be doing, but there wasn't really places to put in where I thought I stood out. It was more functional, like I said, job knowledge, skills and ability, quality of work, quantity of work, initiative, that word, teamwork, dependability. And so just don't know how could I like fill in the blanks to see, okay, how can I demonstrate this? Because I don't think she sees what I do every day, except for like on Zoom meetings, and you know, sometimes I don't represent myself well there.
It's a great question because it's really important. And first of all, this is one of the parts of the job that managers like least historically. They're not good at evaluating performance. They don't, in fact, there's somebody's defined a performance management process as something that neither person really enjoys doing that has to get done for compliance purposes. So, the managers don't like doing it and the employees don't like going through it. But actually, it can be a very useful tool for development and growth if you do it well. And for you, you can make your manager's job easier by doing a good job of describing your accomplishments. So it's really important for you to let them know what you've actually done. And now if I'm hearing your question correctly, is you're also looking at, well, maybe I haven't done as much as I wish I had. Is that part of the issue you're having right now?
Yes, too. Yeah. And then not know exactly what her standard might be.
Yeah.
And because it's a relatively new job, I'm still learning some different things.
So how long have you been in the job?
About 7 months.
Okay, and what's their time? There's something called time to time to proficiency or something like that, where you are actually in a new job where they expect you to be operating at the level of full experience and full competence.
I think that was 6 months.
6 months. So you're at
So I just went over that.
you've just crossed. So the question on this review then is, how have you done in being oriented and learning the job and developing all the basics that you need to be successful? How have you done in fulfilling that set of requirements?
So how was it? Okay. So maybe coming up with what, like you said, what I've done to do that.
Yeah, in other words, there's a set of requirements to get you trained to do this job well and get up to speed, right? How have you done on getting to be a fully functioning member of your team? I'm actually asking you right now.
Oh, are you? Okay, I'm just writing down the question because I'm like, oh, that's something for me to think about.
Yeah. Tell me though, what's your thought about how well you've done?
Mostly just been doing more reading on my own and, looking at our university's website and videos or trainings, the webinars.
So you're having trouble being specific about the skills you've developed.
Yeah.
So your job, what is your job actually?
Call a coordinator, but I'm sort of like an advisor to students. And then when students have problems, I work in student success. So, trying to meet their needs to help them to be retained and be successful in college.
So you're working with the current student body as a call coordinator to help provide support for them. Is that correct?
Pretty much.
Good. How many people have you helped so far?
Ooh, see, numbers. Now I have a set group, but then there's some other people might come in, but yeah.
How many? What's your number?
See, I need to find that out.
Yeah. So being specific, having clear data is really important. The more vague you are, the more your manager's wondering, geez, what has she actually done?
See, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah,
because because she doesn't, I don't do a weekly report, so she doesn't know exactly. But I think it's more in the quality than the number of students. Good. And I know some students have really said, oh yeah, you really helped me out. And I just don't have that specific language. I didn't really document as I was going along. So
now's your chance to go back over it, look at the people you've connected with and come up with the best description of the data of how you've done in terms of quality of calls, where you've been able to help people, some of the things that have stood out, maybe one or two stories of incidents that you were on a call and really made a difference, so that your manager has a very clear picture of how you've done. You want it to be so clear that they, like I have the video, they can picture you on the call talking to this person about their challenges of studying and how you helped them and how happy they were. You've got to be, because it's very important to be really clear, because if you're vague, guess what? Your manager then doesn't really know, so they feel stupid. So you're actually, by being vague, making your manager feel insecure and like they're not sure what's going on. And nobody likes to feel stupid. So they're not going to give you a good review if you make them feel stupid.
Interesting perspective.
So you need to give them the data so they feel they have confidence about what you have done and what you haven't done. And when you get to the places of what you haven't done, you're looking at what are you learning and how are you growing in that area. So it's fine to talk about where you felt challenges, or maybe you haven't had the numbers you'd like, and you'd like to be able to get more available and looking for how to do that. So if you're thinking about the gaps you have and current plans to improve, that's going to give your manager a sense of safety. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So one of the risks is you got to be more vulnerable and transparent. You got to actually trust that they have the goodwill and will want to support you and know about you, as opposed to just looking for ways to get you in trouble.
Yep, that's something too. Yeah. So yeah, I guess and being brave enough to like to bring that up, because a lot of times I might not even think about like, oh, what have I done, on the spot. But then creating that space too to make sure that I have an opportunity to speak.
Yes.
To-
Now, you're in WGU, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm a faculty member there, for those of you on the call, one of my things that I have to work with my students to get used to is actually being transparent about the specifics of the experiences they're having, because they don't want to get that specific. It's more vulnerable to get specific. So they want to kind of stay at a level of generality. And then I get frustrated because I don't know what's actually going on. I want to know, as the faculty member, or in this case, maybe your manager, how are you really doing? What's working and what's not? How can I support you? And so it's literally trusting that your manager is operating with goodwill and wants to get to know you and support you, rather than wants to find out reasons to get rid of you because you haven't done your job well, right? So is this making sense?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
I suggest you practice it too. Do your self-review and then pick one of your classmates and run it by them. Have them be the manager and you be the employee, and have them give you feedback on what they think is missing.
Oh, good idea.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
And when's your review?
This Friday.
All right, so we'll get some data and we'll find out next Wednesday how Tiffany did. So,
Thank you.
good luck. Okay.
Thanks.
Oh my goodness, fantastic. Tiffany, thank you so much. And Dr. Medlock, thank you. There's a few things I want to underline here. So many people, and we go into personality styles and that kind of thing on the training that we have coming up this weekend. We'll make sure to throw a link to that in here in a second. But so Tiffany, you're an analyzer cooperator. Yeah, I'm a cooperator energizer. And what we find is that you and I are going to be the most likely to like not talk about ourselves in a positive way. Like we're really good at like seeing other people and being warm and supportive with other people and people like us. But then if we're talking to a supervisor who's a regulator, like what you were describing, Dr. Medlock, it's like they get more and more insecure, as I don't want to just come out and say, well, people freaking like me a lot. And just by how much they like me, they then see possibilities for themselves and can feel like they can do things. And so I'm somebody you want to have around because it feels really good to be around me. You want me in a team. I make things work well, but that's not, it took me like, many years of this kind of training to be able to say what I just said. Because before I would have been like, yeah. So it's often so helpful to, like you're saying, like practice. And another thing is to ask people what they like about you. Ask people, because we're not, Dr. Medlock, you might know some of the neuroscience on this, but our brains are wired in such a way where we don't hear ourselves. Like if I say I'm a good person, like it doesn't register. If I say, George Donald, you're a good guy, that actually kind of gets through. So it's really helpful to have other people interacting with us, because we can actually sometimes hear that better than we can even hear ourselves.
George Donald, that is so important. The neuroscience data is if you give somebody a criticism, because it then charges all the cortisol and the anxiety in them, they remember it for, it's 2 hours in their system to take in and remember and be with that threat, you know? So it's like, if you get a compliment, 20 seconds, it's done. The body just notices it. In fact, we actually have an exercise where we help people, our students, savor a compliment, because if you don't savor it, you don't even remember it. It goes out the window. Now, my wife has got every compliment that's ever been given to her written down. I don't know, she decided to make an art out of doing this. So she remembers every positive thing and she savors it and she writes about it and she thinks about it. And so she's good at talking about what she's done well, but that's a discipline to practice. So this self-review will be very useful for you to actually start savoring your successes, and to Judge Donald's point, communicating those so that you're remembering them and sharing them in a way that you'll be able to pull them back up.
Absolutely. And the other thing to keep in mind is if I had to have everything handled before I would ever say anything good about myself, my goodness. So there's always going to be so much more for me to develop and learn. And actually, sometimes what I found in coaching people in their careers is that if they share about challenges, personal challenges that they're having completing a task, oftentimes what happens actually is that their boss or supervisor will say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said something." Because you know what, that's actually an issue we've seen with this position for a while. What can you tell me about that? What are the specific challenges? They start getting more data about, you know what? And that's then sometimes where you can actually make a system change and say, okay, well, we're going to need to bring in more support here, or we're going to need to make sure that you're getting what you need in order to be in good shape for this. So just because I'm not doing something well, of course, I can continue to learn and develop myself there, but I'm going to be much better at doing that if I'm sharing that. And it might not all just be about me either. I might just help people realize something, a bigger issue. So speak up about stuff. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to do a quick room reset. This is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday from noon to 1. And we take all of your questions, anything career related. And we have with us today, Dr. Gordon Medlock, an expert in helping people realize their potential in their careers. And we have another question on board. Max, are you able to come off mute and speak with us directly? It's so good to see you again.
Yes, I can. Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Well, welcome.
Yes. So
it looks like you're losing interest in your job.
it's not just my job. It's like, you know, the industry that I'm in, you know, in technologies, like I have to push myself, you know, to learn something, and you know, it's been like that for years already. It's just that, you know, I'm still figuring out, you know, what's my next career that, you know, I'm excited about. And it's actually not a career, but more of, I guess, a mission to help, you know, families, like, given with the COVID and all that, you know, I mean, create a, you know, a sustainable income.
Mm-hmm. So I have a couple questions for you, Max. That's a great question and a great issue. First of all, are you really good in the technology area?
Well, I used to be, but right now I feel like, you know, I can't keep up anymore. The rate of changes, I mean, and it's my first time to work in a big team, which, you know, it's not easy for me because there's like a lot of moving parts, and it's kind of like hard for me to do my job if I don't know the other pieces. It's like, okay, you know, am I missing something? And, you know,
Yeah, and how long have you been in the technology sector?
More than 35 years now.
35 years.
I've actually started losing interest more than 20 years. It's just that I stayed because the money is good,
Yeah.
but I can tell that I'm not as excited about learning.
First of all, you don't
You-
look old enough to be in the business for 30 years. So I got a compliment.
Oh, thank you. I feel old, to be honest. When I look at the mirror, it's like, man, what
I
all
know.
that white hair?
Well, when you're not feeling vibrant and alive in what you're doing, you can feel old. I understand that. But but I was just, following just a sense I might have. So you've devoted a lot of time to this profession. For 20 years, you've been unhappy. It's like you've been, but the
No,
fact
it's not really. I mean, I was happy. And I think what's probably missing more so now is the interaction with my colleagues. Ever since COVID came out and the company said, okay, everyone's got to work from home. Okay. So even with the mask mandate lifted, the company said that, anybody that doesn't have to be in the office continue to work remotely.
Mhm.
Oh, and I kind of also, let go of my health, like I don't get up to exercise because my work is mostly sitting in front of the computer.
Yes.
And, sometimes
Yeah.
I get so engrossed in trying to solve the problem. And that's the other thing is, whereas before I welcome them, but now it's like I'm getting frustrated by it. It's
I
like,
understand, yeah. Yeah, so what I'm hearing is, first of all, you're a tech guy who has an interest in people. Congratulations. That's an important dimension. And actually, the technology sector has some of the most creative social and interpersonal stuff going on too. So it doesn't have to mean just because you're in tech, you're not going to have human relationships. And what you're learning is you need those to thrive. You need the exercise, you need the physical fitness to feel good, and you've got to keep yourself in shape, and you need the relationships to keep you engaged in doing things. Otherwise, those problems, what happens is in any, this is the way our brains are wired. As you start focusing more and more on narrowly defined technical issues, you become very expert in those areas, but if there's no nourishment emotionally for you, it becomes very draining. So the excitement is when you're talking, when you're meeting with colleagues, when you're learning and growing and discovering new connections and new applications and new ways to contribute. So I think it's really important for you to be making a shift in how you're being in your job rather than just what your job is. Now, I will say, to speak to your point, you can leverage your technology experience in the service of higher mission and purpose. Absolutely. And I welcome you to explore that. And I think there's a lot of ways you can do it. But to walk away from something you've had this much time and experience in, you've come up against a barrier that's very common in that field. And it's very important for you to be able to recalibrate and shift the way you're being in the job and not just what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that, I know like one way I shift my way of being is playing music and then, dancing to it. Like when we're doing the year-long program, I have like a playlist, like, power songs, like, kind of, but doesn't last long. And then, and sometimes the music, the song is becoming a distraction.
Absolutely. So that's cool. So first of all, has George talked to you at all about our training called the More Life Training?
Oh, he knows it.
He's done it? Have you actually done it?
I did.
Yes.
So how was that experience for you in terms of opening you up to the more social and emotional side of things?
I mean, well, there's still some, apprehension, like going up to strangers and striking up a conversation, and so it's still somewhat. I guess I prefer more like smaller group, preferably like one-on-one,
Yeah.
So
Have you done any coaching at Wright, like with George Donald, for example?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Uh,
yeah. So Max and I worked together years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, he was my coach.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Good. So you got a taste of it, but what happens is it's a practice to develop these capacities. It's like any skills, just like you've had to read manuals to learn how to do the technology stuff you've done. Same thing with the interpersonal and social skills. So it's really important to kind of build that skill set for yourself, that to be connected, to look at yourself being more emotionally available, more emotionally nourished, and finding activities that you can do. So I think just doing some coaching work on this could be very useful for you at this point. But it's really about a development plan for yourself, that your self-care and you're taking care of yourself emotionally and physically, and building that capacity for relationship that's important is got to change no matter what job you do, because that's
Sure.
what I think you're hungering for right now. And so, and the truth is, with the amount of experience you have, you probably can go in at a higher level in another organization if you wanted to, leveraging that skill set, but using more of your social and emotional skills in the relationship. So
Yeah, I think one of the things, that I kind of like been avoiding is taking up like a leadership role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like, so like I avoid it because I don't want the responsibility of, I guess the result that's out of my control, meaning I have to rely on others to produce the result, and
Got it. Yeah.
the fear is that, I might not be able to, I guess, encourage them because I know I have a tendency to be like impatient, and I could just let him have it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
So guess what? For you to step into a more managerial role and be more, working with people will challenge a lot of your personality qualities and limiting beliefs, and those parts of you that just want to knock them down when they're not being not doing fast enough, and let me do it for you.
No, it's not so much. It's not so much fast now because I know that rushing is not going to help. But it's more of, doing it the right way, because most of it is like just rush, and then end up making mistakes, and then I'll have to spend time to fix it. And so I guess I don't want to be accountable for their results. And I know that that's so.
I totally understand. And there are a lot of ways that you can develop your social and emotional intelligence skills. You don't necessarily have to take on managerial roles. You can actually do it in the way you serve clients, the way you work on teams. There are a lot of different ways to do it. If you do want to take on a more managerial role, this is going to be important personal work for you to do. So,
yeah, I don't see. I mean, I kind of like knowing what's going on, because sometimes being a manager is like too far removed to what's going on, right?
So you're at a key sort of career transition place here right now.
Yeah.
You're looking at, where do I go? You've got some tech people go into becoming professional subject matter experts in a certain area. Some people want to become team leads. Some people want to become managers. So finding what your next best right step is for you, and the right role and the right culture and the right organization, really doing an in-depth assessment of that would be a very useful activity for you. And I recommend doing some coaching work with either George Donald or myself or one of our other coaches, and just really kind of getting yourself clear, because it sounds like you have a lot of different skills, and you're in a very critical point right now where you're about to wanting to make a change in this career to make it more meaningful for you. So
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your questions and your engagement. Very nice.
Fantastic. Max, I put a link in the chat. I know you've done basic before, but we're doing it differently with different groups. Let's talk about this more offline. I think it might be a really great fit for where you're at right now, and keep checking in with us here in Career Lab, and we'll talk more about coaching. But it's so good to see you, man.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you. And I'm like, yeah, I think I've probably gone totally bald, and you still got your hair. So you're, so You got it. So good to see you, man.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes. Well, we're coming to the top of the hour. This is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Our job is to support you in reaching your potential, specifically through your career. And so we take all questions, everything. We can always do a little bit better at any area of our life. And here we're looking at career. So Sebastiano, it is good to have you here. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me. Jumping on at this late part of the hour.
Sure.
Yes.
I feel like I'm on like a radio talk host or something.
That's
So
right.
we've got the microphone for it here, which is awesome. And but Sebastiano, so how can we help you today?
Yeah, I guess this is kind of a follow-up conversation because you and I talked yesterday, and I think it's kind of just a little bit more kind of looking into how I can expand on that and like what my strategies should be, which is right now, for context, I have a job right now, but I'm looking to switch out of it. So I've already talked with my boss and I'm in the process of transitioning out. And I guess kind of just looking for, I'm not quite sure. There's still a lot of questions, but I guess like I'm looking for support in kind of getting my butt moving on the process and all that kind of stuff. And I'm feeling overwhelmed with just all the stuff like happening and kind of going from a zone of comfort to a kind of a new space back to the search, which was a little rocky for me last time, and making the most out of it. So I'm not sure if there's a kind of like a clear question in there. That's just kind of where I'm at right now, though.
Well, I'd like to just say, Sebastian, first of all, it's cool that you've actually been transparent with your boss and gotten support for making a conscious choice to make a new move. That's a big issue. A lot of times in companies, that's just very difficult to do. And managers don't know how to handle that. And
It's gutsy. It is really gutsy.
Yeah, but there's a sense of you knowing kind of what's right for you, and maybe the relationship you had allowed them to say, because ideally this is the way it ought to work. I used to work in outplacement where the whole philosophy was, don't tell the employees anything until we let them go, and then we're going to just throw them out. So it's like, because they expect it to be this really charged situation. And the truth is, if it's not the right fit, it's not a win-win for you guys. So that's, I just want to acknowledge your having done that. I think that's good, and that you had the relationship to do it. Now, tell me, what's the kind of position you're looking for? And I also want to hear a little bit about what was the upsetting part about your last search that maybe got in the way.
Yeah, so what I'm looking for is, I'm recently just graduated last spring, so under a year out of college, and I'm looking for something that I can utilize my writing skills in, to some kind of like a copywriting job, something like that. But editing, content creation, all that kind of stuff is in my wheelhouse. And the position I'm leaving right now was kind of a freelance social media content writing. So I would write posts for a variety of companies. And ultimately, I think the thing that kind of made me the move is I'm looking for an in-person experience. I've been struggling with remote work, which I know is kind of, it's a hot button debate right now, the remote versus in person. And I'm falling on the side of I like it when there's kind of that in-person support group around me. So that's what I'm looking for right now. Some kind of writing job in person.
Great. I would think that that's also going to be in demand because companies are wanting people to come back. So right there, you have a nice entree. So I think we had an earlier caller where we were talking about what are the companies that you're actually interviewing for or looking and researching for that you think would be a good fit for you. So how have you done in terms of just assessing your own sort of market of the companies you'd like to work for?
In that regard, I haven't done very well. And I think that was part of what was so hard about the last job search is I'm just trying to sample everything and I'm not getting a good idea of what I'm actually looking for. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of just shooting in the dark. I ended up getting the job I got last time through a family referral. So yeah, I'm kind of I know what I kind of know what I want, but I don't know exactly what it is.
So a couple of ways to go about this. One is, first of all, look through the job postings in the areas you're looking at to see what really interests me. And you find one, you say, this is the kind of job I've got. It's got just the profile. So you just pull that aside to help you develop your clarity around the kind of position you're looking for. Because the clearer you are about what you want, the more likely you are to get the job. You're making the job easier for the recruiters to know how to place you if you're letting them know what you really want. So it's really important for you to be clear. And
yes.
So just do some homework on that to get a feel for, and you might have 2 or 3 different sorts of positions you'd be interested in. So consider those, I guess now, and for younger people coming up, think of those as your avatars. You can have 3 different personalities that you got going here, okay? You've got 3 different searches going on, 3 different resumes, 3 different stories that you're talking about what you want to do. That's fine. But what's the advantage of that is in saying, well, gee, I'm not sure what I want. I've got this, this, or this. You've done the homework to say, here are 3 options I know I'm really interested in, and then you're pursuing each of those separately. And what'll happen is you'll get traction with some, and it'll start naturally doing a sort for you, and you'll begin to see where your best fit is. So really recommend creating that scenario of what the ideal job looks like based on what's out there and pulling those profiles together. And then doing some research on what companies look like the best culture for what you'd really like to do. Might be location, might be important if you want to stay in this area or whatever, but you've got your own criteria. Pick your companies and then begin to see how to network into those companies through personal relationships, people you know, maybe associations that are related professionally to the kind of work you want to do. Start using and building your network on that. And a really good book on this is the book, What Color is Your Parachute? Are you familiar with that one?
I'm not, no. Let me take a note on that.
This is a classic. This goes back to the 1960s, maybe even earlier when he first did his first edition. But what he's got is he's got 3 chapters on the non-conventional job search process. The conventional one is I answer an ad, I submit my resume, I go through HR, and I see if I get the job interview and stuff like that. That's fine to do and do lots of that. That's good. But the other way to find a job is through personal networking and informational interviewing and developing. And that's really what I'm talking about here. Research the companies, begin to find ways to network into those companies, have conversations with people. And the other thing to remember is even though you're looking for a job, you want to be a net giver in the process. That's a very important part of our philosophy. You're looking about how do I contribute to this company rather than what are they going to give me? What's in it for me? You've already done the search to find out the kind of company that's going to be satisfying for you. Now your focus is knowing what's their issue enough to be able to say how I can be of help. So I know we're running out of time here, so I just want to how does that land for you in terms of some direction for yourself at this point?
Yeah, that sounds actually really cool. A quick question: What color is your parachute written by? Who wrote again?
It's oh my gosh, What Color is Your Parachute by Richard Bowles, I believe his name is, if I'm not mistaken. Bolles.
It'll come right up online.
All right, cool.
It's a classic, and I think it's chapters 5, 6, and 7, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the book with me right now, but something like that.
I think they put a new edition out every year, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and they keeps being updated, so it's got the latest on the technology stuff, how to do keywords into your resume, all that kind of stuff. Really helpful.
All right, sweet. Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm just looking. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Fantastic.
Okay, GD. So what else do we need to let people know about before we
here's what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up today. Dr. Medlock, you kicked us off with talking about our MBA program and how we approach career and how it's so important to develop the relationship. So it's important to develop my social and emotional intelligence, and that helps me connect deeper with others in anywhere, even in tech, as we were working with Max earlier. So the best thing that you can do in terms of if you're curious to learn more about this is to attend our More Life training, which is coming up this weekend. It's Friday evening and Saturday. this is a deep dive into social and emotional intelligence. You learn more for yourself. It's experiential. You'll get some practice with what we were talking about with yearning and engaging. You know, a lot of us don't know what our yearnings are really until we start engaging and start the practice and really paying attention to ourselves in a way that we haven't before. So that's available this weekend. There's no cost to this training, and it's incredibly powerful. We'd have people fly in from all over the world back when we were doing it in person. So jump on that. And then we'll have a variety of evening events coming up that have more to do with our graduate school, but I don't see any of those currently right now, but I know that we'll have some coming up.
You know what I think we can do on that, George? Now, I know that we call them pop events. I think we've got a couple coming up even next week. So if you can call Emma, see if you can get
Oh, fantastic.
a mailing out to this group, I think, that are on the call today. Do we have access to do that? We could just let people know or put it on the LinkedIn site so that they're aware of what those are, because that's another great way to get introduced to the WGU program. We also have
good. That's a great idea.
We also have a great program. We're actually giving a 20% discount on the entire cost of the MBA for people who sign up to join the MBA program this April. We're really trying to build a large cohort. So there's a huge financial advantage to doing our new MBA program. It's a new program, and we're really wanting to encourage growth in it this particular spring. So it's a great opportunity for anybody to be interested. So we can get something on the LinkedIn site for people on that.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, thank you everybody so much. Take care, and we'll see you next week again. You can type questions into the chat throughout the week. Let us know how you're doing, and we love having you back. Nancy, thanks again for coming back and letting us know how you've progressed. Sebastiano, look forward to seeing you more. And Rich, look forward to seeing you.
Being here too. Really like seeing Yana. Okay.
Best of luck, Nancy. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take
Bye.
care.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes, you're welcome.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Okay.